Hi friends, it's Abby from OP, and I'm back to do another one of our monthly craft kit workshop walkthroughs with you. So welcome back. It's March, which means it's springtime, all the flowers are coming out, the trees have leaves on them again, which is really nice. And I am always really inspired by this time of year, just all the color, all the lovely smells, being able to just be outside and not be cold and wet. It's an awesome time of year. Our craft kit workshop this month is our Paint With Me tea party. And the reason we're doing that is because painting is a ton of fun. And also, what's better than painting and having tea? I mean, I'm sure you could probably think of a couple things, but I feel like having a tea and just something to sip on and enjoy while we paint things that inspire us is just gonna be a nice way to practice some self-care. So that's what we're gonna do today. It's gonna be pretty light on the instructions. I'll be perfectly honest. I really want this to be something that you use to be creative and just go with the flow. But if you need some guidelines, I do have those for you as well. First things first, we wanna make sure you have everything in your kit though. So you should have a pack of paintbrushes, a canvas. I think yours is gonna look a little different than mine. I tried to go with a bigger one so you could see what I was doing a little bit better. I have a cup. This is gonna be your paintbrush water cup, which is gonna be a little confusing because you'll need another cup. You're gonna have two, and this one is your teacup. Please don't confuse these. Put them on opposite sides of the table. I don't know about you, but I've definitely had some sips of water out of a paint cup before on accident, and it is a very unpleasant experience, so avoid it if you can. On that note, you should have a little packet of peppermint tea, which is one of my favorites. It's very refreshing. You also have 2 little packets of sugar if you like your tea sweet. You don't have to use it if you don't want to, but I'm going to because I like it. You're also going to have a rock. And I know you're thinking, Abby, why is there a rock in my craft bag? And that is because, well, 1, painting rocks is fun, okay? And 2, I want this to be a part of the thing that we create. And I'll get to that in a little bit. Again, you don't have to use any of this stuff for what I say you should use it for in the video. I'm just here to offer some loose guidelines to help maybe inspire your creativity if you're feeling a little bit of a block. So just follow your heart, your art heart. Yeah, do that. And last but not least, you should also have 5 jars of paint. So I will let you know that you all probably have different jars just because I talk about this a lot in my videos, but I think that there's a lot of opportunity for creativity when you are kind of given things to work with instead of having all of your options open. So you're gonna have 5 jars of paint, and whatever you paint is just gonna be made out of these 5 colors. I have a light green, red. Oh, I have 2 greens. I have a darker green. I also have this antique white color, and I have this brown black pigment. And the one tip I will give you going into this is remember that with paint, you can always mix them, play around with them, see what different kinds of colors you get by adding, like what happens if I add this red to this brown or this red to this white? Will it turn pink? What happens if I mix the green and the red together? I think I'd probably get brown, but I'm actually not entirely sure. My point is there's a lot of things you can do with color, so be creative. And if you have paint at home, you can always add some of your own paints on too. Okay. If you have all of your stuff, which I sure hope you do, I'm sorry if you don't. Sometimes I make oopsies when putting these together. The first step is to make some tea. So I have my hot water cup here. Again, remember, your paint cup is not your water cup. Make sure you check it for a tea, like a tea bag before you drink out of it. But step 1 is just to make some tea. Oh, I love peppermint. It smells so good. Man. My mom, who's a super cool lady, has a little patch of mint, but it's like chocolate mint in her garden at home. And I love it so much, and I always thought it would be so cool if we made that into a tea, because wouldn't it be so delicious? I'm putting my sugar in. I'm also realizing that I do not have anything to stir my tea with, so I'm just gonna do a little bit of this and see if I can get that sugar to mix around on its own. Oh, and if you are unfamiliar with making tea, or maybe you just haven't had a chance to make it before, it just takes a couple minutes. You can leave your tea bag in the cup while you drink it. You can take it out after a couple minutes. It's totally up to you. But either way, it's gonna be delicious. Yep, that's really good. That is a good cup of tea. Congrats, you did step 1. Step 2, we're gonna step into our creativity, but first, make sure that your space is clear. You're not gonna knock anything over, except your water cups. Make sure those are out of arm's reach. And make sure that you're not painting on anything that you don't wanna get paint on. And make sure that you're wearing clothes that you're okay if you did get paint on them on accident. If you have an apron or an art shirt or something like that, I definitely recommend getting that. And once you have that, that's step 2. Then we can move on to step 3, which is just making stuff. We're gonna paint some stuff now. So with that being said, let's get to it. So before we get started, I just want to give a heads up. Of course, you know, I've already talked about this a little bit, but we are going to practice going with the flow, being creative, sipping our tea, and not worrying too much about whether or not we are painting like a perfect piece of art. We're just here to have fun and be creative. I do understand that sometimes it's hard to find inspiration just out of nowhere. So if you would like a guideline to your paintings on your canvas and on your rock, here's what I would suggest, and this is what I'm going to do. On your canvas, I would paint a scenery. Specifically, where would be the best place to have a cup of tea with your best friend or best friends? Is it inside? Does it have a fireplace or books? Is it in a library? Does it have big comfy chairs? Like, what's going on? What's in there? What makes it the best place to be to have a cup of tea? Or if it's outside, are there trees? Is it like a picnic setting? Is it just in your backyard? Are there flowers? Like, what's going on? So pick whatever scene feels like you would want to be there and have tea with your friend and paint that. And for the rock, what we're gonna do for that is I want you to paint a symbol or an image or something on that rock that reminds you of something that makes you feel good or happy. So it could be a symbol that reminds you of something that you care about. It could be a color that makes you happy, maybe a color that you associate with somebody you love or something that you like to do. It could be your pet's paw print. It could be the initials of somebody that you love with little decorations around them. It could be your name, and maybe you just want to celebrate yourself. It could be your favorite color. It could be someone else's favorite color. It could be all of the favorite colors of your friends. There's a lot of cool ways you could go with it. But whatever it is, make sure it's something that gives you a little bit of a glimmer, which are kind of those happy moments, those happy impressions. And that's what we want to put on our rock, because the rocks we can put maybe on our desk or outside of our homes or on a shelf somewhere where it's easily visible, and you can say, oh yeah, that reminds me of something that makes me happy. Because that's just a nice way to bring a little bit of that self-care into your daily life. So let's get started. Hi, I was so into my painting that I forgot to stop and show you some of the things I was doing to my painting and to my rock, because I kind of wanted to show you what paintbrushes I like to use for which patterns and all that stuff. So instead of showing you how I paint while I paint, I'll go back and I'll list a couple things that I would want you to know going forward in doing this project. So to start, this is what I ended up painting. I don't know how well you can see it, but this is my scenery that I did for where I would want to go have a cup of tea with one of my best friends. So using the colors that I had, remember I had brown, green, white, and red. So I went with just like a nature scene, like a nice little bench in the woods with some trees and some flowering bushes nearby. And for my rock, I thought it would be cute if I painted the teacup that I would bring with me. So it kind of matches the place where I would go and have my tea with my friend. So one thing that I learned while doing this that I want to share with you is that if you are painting on your canvas and you're waiting for it to dry, you can paint your rock. And if you're painting your rock, but you want to wait for it to dry, you can paint your canvas. So it kind of worked out. I was able to switch back and forth a little bit which is a fun way to paint because you take a break from one thing and then work on the other and keep on doing that. And it's a nice way to keep your brain kind of, maybe your creativity flowing a little bit. Another thing that I really want you to know is that, and maybe you already know this because you paint a lot, maybe you haven't thought of this before because painting is new to you, but you have all of these brushes. Mine are all dirty, they're all in my cup, but they have a couple different sizes and shapes, right? So I have this, I'm gonna dry that off really quick. This is my scrap paper that I use for drying my brushes. These wide flat ones, these like smaller flat ones, and then there's like these pointy, more delicate ones. And you can use these for lots of different things, but I like these big thick brushes to do big strokes like these tree trunks. So I would just go up and down on the page. They also make really good leaf brushes, and you just dip a little bit of paint in there and then you just dab it on your canvas really gently and it creates kind of a cool leaf pattern, which is what I did for my leaves up there. And you can do the same thing with flowers too. And then these smaller flat brushes are really good for smaller leaves or more details. They're good for doing kind of medium-sized lines. So that's what I did my bench with. And then these smaller brushes are really good for line work. So that's how I got the lines in my trees, the edges of my bench, as you can see. And that's how I did some of the smaller detail work on my teacup on my rock. So those are a couple tips you can use going into this painting project. I hope more than anything that you just have fun while you do it and you go with the flow. I definitely had to change my mind a couple times about what I wanted to do because I didn't have the color I needed, or I didn't have the color I wanted, or I wanted to do something else. But I'm really happy with where the colors ended up taking me because I think this is really beautiful and I would absolutely have tea here. Ultimately, I just hope that you had a good time, and I hope that you got to be creative, and I hope that you get to enjoy your tea, and I hope that you get to come away with this with something that will remind you of a good memory and maybe even like a hopeful future. Maybe you can find a place that looks like the place you painted, or maybe you can go to the place that you did paint if you painted a place and have tea with a friend. Thank you so much for doing another workshop with me. I had a really good time painting and I hope you did too. We have a couple other craft kit workshops coming up this month. We're going to be making fairy houses in one of them, and we're going to be doing balloon crafts in another, and they're both going to be a ton of fun. So I hope to see you there. And of course, we will eventually be having a summer calendar come out, which will have all of the stuff that we're going to do over the summer, including some more craft workshops. If you want to stay tuned into what's going on at OP and hopefully do some more craft kit workshops with me, you can check out our website, which is www.opheliasplace.net, or you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Regardless, I hope to see you soon, and I hope you stay safe in the meantime and enjoy the sunshine. Bye!